Welcome to the LawyerFair.co.uk Daily Podcast. LawyerFair helps businesses find the right lawyer at the fairest price. But on this podcast, we just chew the fat with some great guests.
LawyerFair Daily Podcast. I don't know where we are now. My assistant Polly informs me on a regular basis that we've hit new landmarks. I think we're in the 70s, and we are very kindly joined this morning by Felicity Wingrove. Welcome, Felicity.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. MD and founder of Zen Communications. Now, I'm going to put to you, Felicity, an accusation. I'm going to put PR in the dock and ask you to mitigate slightly. Because, as you refer actually in one of your videos on Zen Communications' website, PR has a little bit of a pink and fluffy reputation. And perhaps some of us in the business world don't feel that we are necessarily seeing or always seeing tangible results. So I'd like you just to fight back on behalf of PR and give me some fire to that accusation.
Thank you, Andrew. I would love to. PR absolutely has a reputation for being pink and fluffy, not providing very much value, sometimes as a tick box exercise, and it's a complete frustration for those of us in the sector. PR has evolved enormously over the last few decades, and now is actually one of the best value tactics that you can use within your marketing mix. PR is just about you engaging with all of the people that are important to you, and it's engaging with them in a way that they're comfortable with. So we talk about earned media rather than bought media, and earned media is third-party credibility, it's third-party endorsement, it's someone else saying that you're pretty amazing. And there's an analogy that I've used before, which is you're in a room, you see an amazing woman over the other side of the room, you walk up to her and tell her, "I am fabulous," and that's advertising. Same woman, same evening, other people, unprompted by you, go over and tell her independently how amazing you are and give her tangible examples, and that's PR. But where we are nowadays, Andrew, it's about strategic PR, and quite frankly, if she's not looking for fabulous and amazing, she's still not going to call. So it's finding out what she wants, giving that to her in a really credible third-party sense, and then working on the basis that she will have to pick up the phone.
I was quickly scribbling down my dating notes here, Felicity, alongside obviously key PR lessons. So in terms of earned media, in terms of, I mean, this it strikes me is the priority here is to understand your customer clearly, and understand the messaging that your customer is going to want to hear. But I mean, give me some tactics, Felicity, if you can. No name basis, but perhaps a case study or two where that shift of emphasis has had an impact.
Absolutely. Linking into the old accusation, the pink and fluffy, people think PR is just about press releases, so writing your news, getting it out to multiple news channels, and hoping, fingers crossed, that they're going to be covering it. And it's about so much more than that. Nowadays, we really tend to focus in on what we sort of term meaty coverage. So it's negotiating a double or triple page spread as an exclusive with a magazine. It allows you to get under the skin of an issue, to educate or to re-educate or to prompt debate around an issue. But from a client perspective, for an agency like Zen, it allows us to show that they are complete thought leaders, that they are driving the news agenda in their particular industry. They're not easy to secure. Obviously, editors are looking for something of absolute value to their readers, and that's where the psychology comes in. Our job is to understand who our clients' ideal customers are, what drives them psychologically, what they care about, but also to understand from an editor's perspective what he or she is looking to achieve, and actually marrying the two so that we get something that's a complete win-win. And when a title is happy and a client is happy and the coverage achieves something, that's when you start looking to build really long-term relationships with media outlets.
And I'm guessing as well, the key influence, the journalists that you need to influence and convince must be absolutely bored with the standard press release. I mean, they must get absolutely thousands of them, I guess, and it would need to be something extraordinarily exceptional to stand out.
Absolutely, and really what they're looking for. I mean, press releases fill spaces in magazines. They're the snippet pieces, the little sidebar columns that are broken up into 3 or 4 stories. That's really where the press releases go, and they do have their place, Andrew. If you have a new member of staff that has a particular skill base and you want to shout about that, if they've come to you from a leading competitor and you really want to sort of get a bit of a dig in, if you've won a big contract, if there's something that has quite a simple, what I would sort of consider 1 or 2 line headline, then a press release is absolutely the right way to go. But if not, go down the article route. And if not an article, actually now PR isn't just about getting into the printed press, broadcast and online. It's actually about communicating with your stakeholders, with your customers, wherever they happen to be. So sometimes that can be direct communication. And another tactic that can work really well is a lead magnet. So a lead magnet is something like questions to ask, or 5 things you didn't know about, or 10 ways to. It's very accessible. Think of it as sort of a 10-part list or 5 or 6 bullet points. So double-sided piece of A4, something that someone can read in their coffee break. And the idea of it really is just to evidence one element of your awesomeness in a 5-minute accessible excerpt that someone can take away. You can pop it onto your website. You can share it on blogs, on social media like LinkedIn. People can access that. Ideally, you can capture their name and email address so that you've got some sales data that you or your team can use to follow up. But actually, they have something that's of real value to them, that's helping educate and inform them, and that's very heavily branded, we hope, with your logo and contact details. And that creates a very credible touch point in terms of educating potential clients why they should be working with you, and reassuring existing ones why they made a superb choice.
So it's trying to show evidence of value, I guess, isn't it? Evidence of who you are and what you represent, rather than pushing out the sales message. And what about, content and articles of that nature are pretty tough for smaller businesses. Time is not always available to them. Are there other ways of generating that kind of, obviously you use a PR agency, but are there other tactics or ways of generating that kind of those kind of articles or that kind of insight without, if you are a very small team?
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have the skill base within your internal team all the time to actually craft the article yourself, the next best thing really is to go for something like an interview or a profile. So that really, it hinges on you having someone with something to say. There's absolutely no point in sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
That's of no interest to anyone. So we tend to talk about managed controversy. So have a very controversial headline and perhaps slightly more measured argument. But think of something that is really hot in your industry or sector right now. It could be that it links into a breaking news story. It could be that it's talking about some changing legislation or best practice that's coming in. Pick up the phone, speak to the editor of whichever title is core to the people that matter to you, to your prospects, and say to them, this is happening, this is what I think, I'd love to have a chat with you about it. Are you planning any pieces around this topic or this issue that I can contribute to? It could be that it's around the company and rather than a hot news story, and it could be that the company is celebrating a milestone or growth or something quite exceptional. The beauty of an interview or profile is that you don't have to do any of the legwork other than preparation. You will be spoken to by the journalist and they will do all of the hard work for you. Bear in mind, with something like that, it's very unlikely that you would get a proof copy prior. You can always request, but most titles prefer not to. Just for their purposes, they talk about editorial integrity and them maintaining their ability to be neutral. So just be very mindful about what you say and try and be quite measured. It shouldn't be a risky tactic as long as you back up everything that you say and that you have the right to the opinion that you're asserting. So you have some background.
Yeah, I understand. I do like that PR, that managed controversy. That's a lovely headline. I think I've written the headline for this podcast, Felicity, in there. But listen, that's brilliant. I have to say, from our perspective, the podcasts, a slight tangential element to what you're saying about PR. But these podcasts also, we have some great guests like yourself, and actually we find that the content and the information and the insight that we get through these podcasts, which can last 15, 20 minutes, goodness me, it's fantastic. And compared to writing, 700-800 word quality articles, it's a huge saving on time, but the content and the reach that we get from it is fantastic. So I'm a great advocate of podcasts, and I hope that those who are listening find that it's of value as well.
Absolutely. It's a great way of getting information across in an accessible way, and it's a smart way because your potential clients can be listening to this on their way to work. You're not actually asking them to do very much, to work hard, and that's always good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've had some great feedback. Listen, Felicity, you were very, very kind to step in at quite late notice on this podcast, so I really appreciate that, and for giving us just so much insight to the world of PR. Just give us a little bit of background about the company and what you do.
Sure, thank you so much. So Zen has been running about 8 years. Before that, I used to run a national PR agency up in the northwest, and prior to that, I was with a FTSE 100. So Zen itself, we've just won the Best Place to Work 2015 within our region. So it's a really fun agency, full of very dynamic, very creative PR types. Where we stand out, I suppose, is on strategy. So everything is focused around who is important to our clients, what drives them, and ultimately how we can measure it. We believe very strongly in measuring the value that we return to our clients. It's all very well being great, but we like our clients to know we're great as well.
Yeah, well, that's crucial to all of us, isn't it? But listen, Zen Communications, we'll include the link, obviously, on the podcast. Felicity, thank you so much again. It's a rainy, miserable day in West London, but you've brought a little sunshine into my morning. I don't know what the weather's like in Telford, but I hope it's a little sunnier.
No, completely miserable as well.
Completely miserable. Well, on that happy note, I'm going to end the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate
Not
it.
at all. That was the LawyerFair Daily Podcast. There will, of course, be more tomorrow. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the LawyerFair.co.uk Daily Podcast. If you'd like to listen to more, why not subscribe and download each episode via iTunes, or visit us on the LawyerFair.co.uk website.